Representative Ryan Williams from Tennessee. I had a question about, in watching Waiting for Superman, one of the things were you got a vote on implementing merit pay.
Yeah.
In my district, we were the recipient of about $8.1 million, so we've been spending in merit pay through Race to the Top. Our director and those from our district have been trying to develop and implement a merit pay system. If you had the opportunity to do a merit pay system, how would you suggest implementing?
That's a great question. Let me first, since I saw a lot of people raising their hand about Waiting for Superman and having seen that, let me just first give you a quick update. In the movie, they show the part where the union wouldn't let the rank and file vote on this contract because we had a contract that basically said we're going to get rid of tenure and seniority and lockstep pay in exchange for a contract that had more upside for those high performers. So you could get paid almost double what you're getting paid now if you were a high performing teacher. But you know, it did come with some consequences for low performers. And the teachers union didn't let us vote on that contract at that time. About a year later, right before I left, the union finally let us vote on the contract. It passed 80% to 20%. So the vast majority of teachers in this country don't actually have a problem with being held accountable as long as it's happening in a fair and transparent way. So my biggest thing, in answer to your question would be, first of all, involve teachers. Teachers have lots of insights into this. They have lots of very, very good advice. And so when you're creating a system, sit down with them and make sure they're engaged in the process. We did that in Washington, D.C., and what we came up with was a system where teachers said to us that their biggest qualms about a pay-for-performance system was that they wanted to know that it was going to be fair. They wanted to know that it wasn't going to be arbitrarily decided by one person, their principal, that sort of thing. So when we put together our new teacher evaluation system, we said 50% of your evaluation is going to be based on your student achievement gains, your test score gains. And so that was very objective. 40% is going to be based on observations of your classroom practice. 5% is going to be based on how your school overall did, so there was both the team and individual dynamic. And then 5% based on the softer things, what we called contributions to school community. That made teachers feel comfortable because they wanted to know that how good they were, how they were being evaluated, wasn't going to be just determined by one person or one thing. Not just by test scores, not just by their principal, but by a multiple lensed approach. So that was important. When we put together our pay-for-performance package, what we said was, first of all, when we set ours up, people did not get money taken off their salary if they didn't do well. It was only additive. And then what we said was, you have several levers that could help you get paid more money. The first is if you were teaching in a high-need school. The second, so a low-performing, high-poverty school. The second is if you were teaching in a high-need subject area, like math or science or special education. And the last was whether or not you performed well. And everything was based on whether you performed well. So if you were if you were teaching in a high-need school, but you weren't moving student achievement levels, then you were not eligible for any bonuses. The additives around teaching in a high-performing school in a high-need subject area were only turned on if you actually saw significant increases in student achievement. And the other thing that I think is important is to utilize a growth model. The thing that makes teachers very nervous about basing any of their evaluation on student achievement levels is they want to know, well, what if I have the group of kids who came in 3 grade levels below where they were supposed to be, and the lady next door got all the kids who are above grade level. She's going to have the advantage over me, right? That's why you have to use a growth model. What a growth model does is it measures your exact kids when they come into your classroom, and then it measures them again when they leave your classroom. So you are looking for growth, not an absolute 90% of your kids have to be at the 90th percentile or above, but if your kids started out at the 13th percentile and then grew to the 40th percentile, that's a significant movement, and that should be rewarded accordingly. So when you can do it based on the growth model and you can control out for factors that are beyond the control of the teachers. So for example, in DC, we controlled for things like attendance. Teachers said, well, if the kid isn't there until 2 weeks before the test is given, and I didn't teach them all year, how can I be accountable for their results? They're absolutely right. You have to control for the number of days that the child was in your classroom. It's those sorts of things that teachers are concerned about. As long as you can control for those factors and put that into the model, I guarantee that you will have a tremendous amount of support for the notion overall.